TxStampin Sharon. Actually, it is TxStampin Sharon. I am thrilled to be back home in my state of Texas, and I am bringing you a beautiful sunflower card today. Got a few little tips on using the Stampin Blends. If you currently do not have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd be honored to help you with your Stampin' Up! Supply needs. You can find out how to contact me, how to sign up for my newsletter, my blog, all of that in the Read More button below the video. While you're there, why don't you go ahead and subscribe and then hit that notification bell. You'll be notified every time I upload a video. Let's do some stamping. Once again, I am sharing with you guys some new products from the new annual catalog that launched June 3rd. And you know, I love getting new catalogs and new stamp sets. Stampin' Up! Has a Flowers for Every Season suite. And I want to talk to you about this suite because there are designer series papers and stamps for all seasons. So we've got the Christmas season, we've got fall, we've got spring and summer. So super fun to have a pack of DSP that's going to last you all year long. This stamp set is called Jar of Flowers. That's not what we're working with today. We are working with the Celebrating Sunflowers. That's a big, nice stamp that's fun to use your Stampin' Blends with. And so let's get started. By the way, I'm using another stamp set called Comfort and Hope. And Comfort and Hope is on page 88. And it is used with other stamp sets. So I think, I just felt like it was a good way to give me some texture to the background of my card. So here are the stamps, and then meet the dies. The dies go with the Celebrate Sunflowers. You can get this bundle for 10% off. We always love to save money because that's like maybe the tax or the shipping or whatever. But yes, this has a bundle. So make sure you look for those bundles because sometimes even I am guilty of not seeing the bundle number and I order one or the other. So here's our card, okay? We're gonna go ahead and put this together. I have a piece of scrap Whisper White for my flower. I have 2 pieces of Whisper White that measure 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm using a soft suede card base that is 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 scored and folded at 4 1/4. And then I've already cut out my fronds out of soft suede just to save time for the video. So whenever we are using Stampin' Blends, which is what we're going to do on today's video, we always want to use Memento ink. I get calls about this every day. Don't use StazOn with your Stampin' Blends because it's going to smear. StazOn is not designed for alcohol markers. It is designed to use with more like watercolored tools such as aqua painters, Stampin' Write markers, things like that. So whenever you use the alcohol markers with StazOn, then you're going to have some smearing problems. So you always want to use Memento ink. Another tip is you want to make sure that this is dry, okay? We don't want a wet ink pad, especially when we're taking the Daffodil Delight Stampin' Blends to color it. Now, the Stampin' Blends currently come as a combo. You cannot buy them individually anymore. We're going to take the lighter one and we're just going to do our coloring really quickly. And then I'm going to come back with the darker one, and we're just going to kind of hit some of those highlights that the artist drew in the stamp itself. You can do this any way you want. If you want a nice bold sunflower, you could color the whole thing with the dark. But that's what makes the blend so fun, is that you have choices. And I just love that about the Stampin' Blends. I can decide what I want to do every time I make my card. And I'm telling you, this one is even gonna look different than the one I showed you, just with the shading. And then I can take my ladder one again, and using the barrel tip, I can kind of blend that. Stampin Blends, that's how it got the name. There we go. Now I'm going to take the soft suede and I'm going to start with the ladder. And the center is pretty dark, but I'm going to come in with the darker and make it darker. Just subtly, not very much. Okay, now to cut it out with the dies. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this image from the Comfort and Hope stamp set, our soft suede ink pad, we're just going to give it some texture. It just helped fill in the white space on my card front. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to emboss this with the Subtles embossing folder. I sure do love the texture that it gives our cardstock. All right, so since we have this in our hand, let's go ahead and add this with some liquid glue to our soft suede card base. And I'm seeing that I got a glob there, so I'm going to kind of bring that in a little bit just so it doesn't squish out. I do want it fairly close to the edges because of the embossing of the cardstock. I like to do it this way so that I can really flatten it out and get that as flat as possible because it is embossed and I want it to make sure that it's good and flat. And since we have our ink pad out, let's go ahead and stamp our sentiment on the inside because our sunflower is really taking up the whole front of that card. We're going to add some dimensionals. And where I didn't add dimensionals, on these two sides, I'm going to put some adhesive. Now again, we don't have snail anymore. We have another one in the new catalog. However, this is the first part of June, and I haven't gotten that order yet. So we're going to add that. And then we're going to take our soft suede fronds that we already cut out, and we're going to add them. Oh. I'm kind of hovering over my cards so that I make sure I get them where I want them, but that they also don't go off of my card. See, I'm using it, I'm eyeballing it. Okay, see, that one's going to go off. So just kind of hover over, make sure everything is going to be on the card front. There we go. Well, it would help if I took off the backing. Would help if I removed the backing from the dimensionals. I was so worried about hovering. Okay, let's try that again. All right. Okay, there we go. And now we can add our sentiment layer on the inside, again with some adhesive. Thanks a bunch, guys. I'm so glad you watched today's video. I would love to hear your comments below. And happy stamping, y'all.